Alright, what is going on, everybody? TheCode versus Rage. This is the losers bracket finals of Deathmatch World Cup 4. Two exclusive deathmatch players coming in here, and the winner will face Viper in the grand finals. Before the grand finals, which is played at the same day, we will have a show match, so either of these players who will win will have a chance to rest before the grand finals. And the first game in this best of 7 will be a Hans Meter on 4 lakes, as we will jump into game number 1. Hans Meter should escalate pretty fast, especially on 4 lakes, but more of that later. I did say my prediction on stream already. I think Code is supposed to be the one favored, and I'm going to say 4-2 for the Code. The finals will be a best of 11 for everybody. So welcome to 4 lakes. This is Deathmatch World Cup losers bracket finals. We will have the Code as blue on the right side, and on the left side we'll have Rage as red, playing in Hans as well. The first game is always mirrors, and the only two games that are not mirrors are game number 2 and game number 3. And we have a Tarkins opening here for Rage. The main reason why you open Tarkins is because they actually train slightly faster than Paladins, so you see that there is already a Tarkin out and already moving out, compared to the Paladin that came out a little bit later. As things stand, there is one villager killed by Rage, but he didn't lose. Actually, that's Code killing a Will. So Code actually managed to find the Will here while the Tarkins were chasing down that scout. On the other side, there was no villager kills, and now here come the Paladins. The advantage of Paladins over Tarkins is that, as you see, Tarkins only have 11 base attack, Paladins have 14, so they actually are much more efficient killing Wills. Speaking of killing Wills, here's the first kill from Rage, evening out the villager KD, as we already have a couple of Halberdiers from Rage scattered across his base, making sure that his Wills will not be taken down by Paladins. And speaking of taking down Wills with Paladins, that is another Will kill. In fact, Rage kills 5 from the Code. Code went for a market strategy, but it doesn't matter if he actually loses all his Wills. Another one goes down. This game might be over. Response is actually quite a lot of villager kills on the other side, which might be life-saving right now for Code, because if he just lost 7 Wills, then it would be game over. There's no way that you can actually do anything with 2 Wills in Hans Meter. The good news for him is that he killed 8 Wills as well, meaning that Rage is only at 3 Wills. So both players will actually have very, very little villager count right now, which actually favors the player that has probably sold resources on the market, because the thing is that the economical expansion won't be a thing for quite a while, because it's going to take forever to build these buildings. Same thing with castles. So whoever is going to muster a bigger army is going to have the chance. We have 4 stables and 5 ranges operational for Rage. Other side, it's 4 stables and a little bit less ranges, so the production is slightly better for Rage, and I think that can be seen over here. Even that split second that you can actually get your buildings up faster is going to matter quite a bit. And I think the reason why we're seeing all this army out for Rage and the way less army for Code is because Code lost those Wills a lot earlier, and now it's already 24 Cav Archers as opposed to just 9 on the other side. Theses and castles are being dubbed. This is a nice castle from Rage on top of that hill, as he will now engage in this fight. There isn't enough Cav Archers here for Code, which is a massive problem. He doesn't have the Cav Archers to take down the Halberdiers, so his Halberdiers will get overrun by the red Halbs, and more importantly, Paladins will get taken down. Although it seems like Code is gonna have a nice defense over here. Rage actually didn't send in the rest of his army, which may be a mistake. One of the things that Code does so well early on in that match is defend, and he's gonna be capable of holding this one army for a bit of a time, but now the Cav Archers get overrun by Halberdiers, and it very much seems like Code is gonna be able to... Is Code gonna be able to get that castle up? I'm not so sure anymore, especially with Cav Archers diving in now, and more Wills going down would mean that castles will be delayed forever. And this is an excellent scenario for Rage, especially now that the hub's close distance to the Cav Archers, and I have to say that this is looking extremely grim for the Code here, because as things stand, he's losing Will after Will, which will limit his expansion economically really heavily. In this one, he's going to send a couple of Cav Archers to find some Wills though, and just as many villagers Rage has lost, Code has the same amount of Will losses. So, after all, both players are actually fairly even, to be honest. This was sort of an awful start from both players and a great start at the same time. Because they actually managed to kill a lot of whales from the opponent, but they lost so much themselves. So this is something that is going to be a thing to fix for either of these players getting to the grand finals, because you can't afford to lose like 13-15 whales at the beginning of the game. Even if you kill that many as well, you can't afford to lose 15 whales in that match. As things stand, Rage actually, as we discussed, had those whales up for longer, so he had a bit more building capacity. That's why he's able to finish 3 town centers, and he can actually start building his eco. Code is going to probably play a very military-focused game here, because as things stand, he's gonna fall behind in eco. One thing that he can do to compensate is add fishing eco. The reason why adding fishing eco can help is because adding a dock is much faster than adding a town center, as it looks like Rage will have to give up on this castle. Rage is gonna have to delete that foundation, and he'll probably wait until the last moment possible. No! Rage didn't cancel that castle. That's a massive mistake. He just lost so much stone with that. Obviously, there is a lot of things to focus on, but after all, losing a castle foundation like that is actually going to hurt quite badly. So does the fact that he lost a villager over here. So, I feel like once again Code is gaining momentum. And this is exactly what Code is so good at. Just weathering that early storm no matter how bad the circumstances are, and then just launching a counterattack. The Cav Archer numbers are actually better for Code now. As I said, he's gonna go for a military-focused approach, as he sold quite a lot of resources. Siege rams now coming in, and those castles are made out of cardboard, so they technically go down very easily here to siege rams, and there's only Cav Archers here. The halberdiers have been distracted. What is Rage doing with his hubs? Those were so miscoordinated here. They just got distracted by the paladin raids on the left side, and now there is no units that can kill the rams. This is a disaster for Rage. He might be dead here. Because, yeah, he's got double the villager count compared to the Code, but 30 idols is absolutely awful for him, and he just loses villager after villager now. On those gold mines, he's only got 7 on gold in comparison to 18 on gold for the other player. So the reason why getting docks up early is nice is because you can add fishing ships very easily, which increases your overall resource income. And it's much easier to add a dock and some fishing ships than it is to add town centers and then farming eco. And now all the villagers are going down here for Rage. This is an excellent fight for the Code. Code brings in some paladins to the left side as well, intercepts a couple of villagers. He's just everywhere across the map. He's just everywhere. Now he's dropping a castle over here. This TC might actually be able to go up before that castle goes up, especially when the halberdiers arrive. So I'm not saying that the Code is winning just yet, but at least he has evened out the odds, that's for sure. And now both players will start adding fishing ships, or at least they should. Because as I said, building a dock is much faster than a TC, and then you just have to add fishing ships that will work quite a long time before they need to be invested in more into, because with farms you have to add the farms and then you have to replenish them at some point, whereas with fishing ships you can sit back for a while and you will have a consistent food eco until these run out. So, as I said, this TC does go up and the halberdiers did stop the castle overall. Code now at 48 will kills, 15 only for Rage. So Rage has had an excellent start here with all the will kills, but after that Code was able to just annihilate a huge group of wheels. Look at this. By the time Rage reacts, another 5 wheels go down here. And now, Code is at 96 wheels. Code is really looking like a player who wants to make it back to the grand finals. He was the finalist of Deathmatch World Cup 3, but lost 5-0 to Viper in that set. And now, as we have a huge amount of heavy Cav Archers on the field for Code, we'll see some Tarkans from Rage, because Tarkans are a little bit sturdier when it comes to fighting Cav Archers compared to Paladins. It looks like we'll have a nice hill position here for Rage to start trapping that castle down, but the most important thing for Code is relics. Code is one of the biggest relic collectors in Deathmatch, and you can see that already. He's at 2 relics, and you will soon make it 3 and 4 most likely. Well, not 4, because this one is nearly impossible for him to take, so is this one. But he will still have the relic advantage, which in a very long game could actually result in a victory. So now, Darkins will dive in. This is something that Code won't be able to engage. He's almost exclusively Cav Archer, so he has to be careful because Darkins soak up the arrow fire, and if the Halberdiers can join the fun, they can just finish off those Cav Archers from a close distance. Now there is a couple of Paladins on the field as well for Code. Forces the opponent back, but even more importantly, as I said, he's also taking the northern pond, which will sort of deny Rage from having access to a lot of fishing eco. So the big comparison between two players is that Code has 44 on food and 17 only for Rage. Most of that comes from a fishing eco, so that's why you actually try to go for that. It's basically extra villager production if you put it that way. You don't need to make a PC to produce economic units, you just need to make a quick dock, and you can still get a very, very nice resource income. Heal advantage is beautiful over here for Rage, but he doesn't seem to have the numbers, and Code will commit against this fight. Rage, I think he feels like he can win this one, but it doesn't seem like it. Rage's cavalry archer numbers are now disturbingly low, and the castle is still being trapped down at a quite rapid pace. Siege rams coming in, and the siege ram is just trying to target that trap to force it back even more. This feels like an excellent game right now for Code. He's got a 1000 score lead, and I just feel like I don't see any momentum for Rage. Wherever I look, Code is ahead. Army numbers, eco numbers, relics, map control. This is a nice finding over here from Rage, picking off a couple of villas, but the map control starts to be a lot better now for the Code, and I would think that the Code might even try dropping a castle over here now. This stone mine is going to be lost for Rage, which is going to be some added concern to him, because he needs some stone to make castles, but he also knows that this game might be over. After an excellent start for Rage, he killed like 8 villas and only lost 1. The game just spiraled back into the hands of the Code, after Code was able to snipe 7-8 villas as well, and it looks like Code was able to switch gears very, very nicely. His market approach actually worked out nicely, because he was able to take down a castle here, pressure this gold mine, and kill so many villas to compensate for his initial eco deficit. So with that, Code takes game number 1 in a very convincing fashion, and you can see why it is so hard to defeat Code here, because he's just excellent at defending, and once he's able to build up his forces, he will just tear you apart. He comes in with 4 different directions, and just raids his way back into the game. He's just doing that so well. In fact, his playstyle is actually very reminiscent of Viper's playstyle. Viper does the exact same thing. Dispatch a couple of units to each side, try to pick off villagers, establish map control, pick up the early relics and play for the late game. It's a very macro-intensive game. And Code is doing this so fast. This is why in Deathmatch World Cup 3, the Viper versus Code Grand Finals was much anticipated, because the two players are very similar in that match, but Viper just prevailed because apparently on that day, he proved to be mechanically better than his opponent, and it looks like we will have the Code versus Rage here on Golden Swamp. That's going to be the home map of Rage. I am not a fan of that. I have seen Code play yesterday on Golden Swamp. Golden Swamp might be the best map for Code to play, honestly. So I think it's going to be a Vietnamese-Burmese setup. We have seen a couple of these throughout the tournament. Code has selected Vietnamese, so if I'm right, then Rage is going to have Burmese here to play with. So far he hasn't selected a civilization, but as I said, game number 2 is losing player's home map, and he selects 2 civilizations, and the opponent will choose which of those 2 civs he actually wants to play with. That's basically how this works out. So, no game up just yet. If it's Vietnamese versus Burmese, then I think I prefer Vietnamese. Because, indeed, Vietnamese versus Burmese. We have seen this a lot of times. So, I think that Vietnamese is the better choice. Either Rage has something special planned here, because I think that Vietnamese is something that the opponent will more likely choose than Burmese, or so either Rage has something very well planned here, or he's making an enormous mistake. We will see in this game if he's actually making a mistake or he has a good game plan. I'm gonna give him the benefit of doubt that he has something good on his mind. But I think that this map should be favoring Code, and the Vietnamese should also be favoring Code here, because the Bombard Cannon addition will be a massive advantage for the Vietnamese player over here. That's exactly what Code does so well. Bombard cannons, defensive towers in the middle. That's going to be awfully hard to push off here with Burmese. Burmese also have bombard cannons. I think the idea could be elephants, to be honest. Maybe even from both players. Because you might need a power unit in the middle. It's tricky because elephants is always a risky thing because there is demos on the field. Although there is no heavy demos for Burmese, and Vietnamese have heavy demos as well. That's the other thing I wanted to highlight, that Vietnamese will have that advantage of having heavy demos. Burmese only have normal demos. I just feel like Code has the map advantage and the civ advantage as well in this one, which is a very nice combination to start with, I'm not gonna lie. In fact, it's an excellent combination to start with. I have no idea whatsoever on how Rage wants to play this one, but game number 3 will be the home map and the civ selection of the Code. So I feel like if Rage loses this one, this could be a very concerning situation for him overall. Because losing this one and then going to the Code's home map could easily result in a 3-0 scoreline, and then you would be constantly fighting at a match point and you would need to reverse sweep this set to have any chance at coming back and getting to the grand finals. So far, Code has looked a little bit more convincing, but now we will jump into the home map of Rage. This is a must-win for him. So let's see what he can pull off. Bring up Capture Rage, and we are going to Golden Swamp in a Vietnamese versus Burmese mirror. It's not even a mirror, what am I talking about? It's Vietnamese versus Burmese. So Rage on the left side as Burmese in red. Right side will be the Code in blue, playing as Vietnamese. And it looks like we'll have a barracks opening for a halberdier from both sides most likely. Nope. Rage actually opens stable, so Rage wants to go for Veil Snipes. Whereas on the other side we'll have a halberdier defense. So here in this case, the concept is that Code is not going for a very aggressive opening on land, although now he's adding 2 stables. So he's gotta be careful not to lose Veils, because he will have little Veil snipe potential. Trying to snipe one Veil here will be unsuccessful at doing so. And now there is Cavaliers coming in here for Rage. Rage already has 2 docks up, and that allows him to start going for demos and galleons. No docks just yet for the Code, as he actually starts adding elephants. So I actually am right about the elephants here. Especially for Vietnamese, that could make quite a lot of sense, because your opponent doesn't have amazing demos. Demo ships can help killing elephants, but they are not super amazing at doing so, whereas heavy demos are much better at doing this. And now the elephants start marching forward. The good thing about these elephants is that they can just kill villagers because it's so hard to clean them up. So the Vil can technically try running away, but you see that this elephant is going to poke down one Vil here because it's just impossible to kill it, and Code will open the game with what appears to be 3 villager kills. In this one, he also lost 1 while he was chasing the Cavalier, as now the docks are up. In terms of elephants, the Burmese do have the extra pierce armor on them, but Vietnamese in exchange will have higher HP, so Vietnamese elephants should be slightly better, though you have to add that Burmese elephants do have Blast Furnace, whereas Vietnamese do not. So, as things stand, there is still a couple of Cavalier around that can try snapping Veils. Halberdiers will find one, and Rage is going for the market strategy this time. Docks are up for both players. We are talking about 12 docks for our blue player. I only count 8 that is finished for Rage. So Rage doesn't really have the production here on water just yet to fight this one. As I said, his elephants will be better at absorbing arrow fire. However, he doesn't have access to heavy demos, so the demo shots will be a lot better for our blue player over here. Tower's already coming up for Rage, trying to secure the middle. And with that, it looks like Rage might actually have a slightly better start here in terms of controlling the middle, although I feel like the Code is just waiting for the opportunity to mass army, and once again, just have one big push that's going to allow him to take the middle, and this tower is going to be denied, which is extremely important because those towers help so much at taking down ships. It looks like now Code will commit because the tower is apparently shooting at his ships, but it's only one tower, and now heavy demo comes in. That's a heavy demo in the middle of the ships, and indeed, as I said, Code has a lot more ships or docks than Rage, and that's going to translate into army numbers. Rage is at 40 population, man. Rage just doesn't have the production. He actually went for early castles and TCs, which may backfire really badly over here because his opponent is just going for full military approach. Docks, elephants, and this game might already be over, I'm not gonna lie. Because how is Rage going to come back from this one? He's going to lose the middle now because Code is dropping a castle there. Cannon galleons could be a thing for our blue player soon. In fact, he already has 2 of them in the queue, and they can start shelling these buildings. The problem that when you fall behind in ship numbers like this is that you will just have no tools of protecting your docks, and when that happens, you will lose your docks, and when you lose your docks, you will lose your chance to secure the middle. The castle has been stubbed. This tower is still up, which is annoying for our blue player here, but as things stand, the eco number is better for Code. His military numbers are... He's got 4 times the army as his opponent. And this is not a bad army either. It's galleons, elephants, it's not like he's full halberdiers or something like that. Army value is 3 times as huge as the one for Rage. Rage is at 64 population, his opponent's at 152. And soon the Code will start picking up relics, as he usually does. Traps are already out, and they are shelling this castle already. This is looking extremely hard for Rage, if not impossible. We're talking about double the score, and this is why I said that bringing Code to Golden Swamp could be an enormous mistake, because Code is very good on this map, and now the demos actually get some connections. The remaining fleet of Rage will just disappear, and well, I think we've waited more in the spec delay than what we've seen in this game. So, very quick move from Code here, super aggressive playstyle. He was able to pick off 2 wills, more than his opponent did at the beginning, and from that point on he just sit on that lead, get the docks up and just flood his opponent with galleons. I definitely think that Vietnamese is the better civ out of the 2 here, and I was hoping that Rage will come up with some sort of game plan to compensate for that, but I have no idea what his game plan could have been because it looks like he just got annihilated. So, especially on this map, losing 2 wills at the beginning is going to hurt quite badly, because that delays additional docks being added, so you can get overrun on water very easily. Also, it was interesting to see that Rage actually went for a lot of TCs despite selling his resources. It feels like Rage actually wanted to play an eco-heavy game, but he wasn't expecting a this aggressive play from the Code. Usually, Code plays a little bit more of a defensive style game at the beginning, so maybe Rage got caught off guard by the fact that Code was a lot more aggressive than normal. So with that, we suddenly have a 2-0 scoreline here. Code is looking really sharp. Rage is having his moments, but so far it is far from ideal, let's just say that. And now we're going back to Golden Swamp. Now we're getting back to Golden Swamp, and as I said, the Code loves this map, and we have a Tatars versus Lithuanians setup. It looks like we will have Rage selecting Tatars out of the 2. I think Tatars is the better civ here, with the traps having the extra range, with their cav archers being better. The access to camels can help quite a bit at the beginning at cleaning up the paladins that may be coming in for the Code. On the other side, this map has a huge amount of gold, so paladins can be a long-term thing if you can access the gold in the middle, and with the extra relics they can snowball a game really fast. So I feel like Lithuanians have their moments here, though I actually prefer Tatars, especially when it comes to their ability to secure the middle. Those 19 range traps can be life-saving, I would say, for the Tatar player. And the other thing is Kashik. That's the beautiful thing for Tatars. I think I was listing the positive things for Tatars on this map for 20 minutes yesterday when we saw this civ matchup. Kashik can be a very, very cost-efficient arrow sponge. They have the Timurid Siegecraft on their traps. So their cav archers have great pierce armor as well. They get the extra sheep when building their town centers, which means that their early food eco can be nice as well. They don't have the problem of running out of food, although this map is not really food heavy, but that's still something that is nice to have, in contrast to other civs that have to make farms. So we will have Lithuanians versus Tatars here. In theory, each player should have access to about 2 relics, and the 5th one is in the middle. So the Lithuanian player should have no trouble securing 2 relics, and we know that Code loves to pick up relics anyways, so I would think that he's gonna have a guaranteed amount of 2, but potentially more as well. Indeed, Tatars have flaming camos as well, although flaming camos seem probably unlikely in this one. If this was an elephant civilization that they're up against, flaming camos would be completely legitimate. So, if it was Tatars Vietnamese, you would actually go flaming camos, because flaming camos would just annihilate those elephants. So, we will have TheCode and Rage coming in here as we will jump into game number 3. So, please welcome TheCode on the right side. As blue in Lithuanians, he can go back to Golden Swamp in his home map, and Tatars will be the Civ for Rage on the left side. Tatars also have extra pierce armor on their Hussar, so they are also better at absorbing arrow fire when it comes to using cost-efficient meat shield in the middle. In terms of relics, this actually looks really good for TheCode. He's got 2 relics on the right side, it's easy to pick up, and this one could be possible as well for TheCode. Halberdier is now out. Lithuanian Halberdier is gonna have a fairly easy time chasing down that light cavalry, and it seems like the Hussar for Code is already dead, thanks to the fact that the red player does have access to camos. Doc's already coming in here for our red player, so it is for our blue player. Galleons to start with. No villager kills so far. Lithuanians definitely have to go for a Halberdier defense here, because they don't really have a good answer to camos other than Halberdiers in the early opening. The good news though is that Paladins can do a lot more damage than Camels can when it comes to killing Veils, and that can help quite a bit as that Camel is gonna go down. One villager was killed by Rage, so his start was slightly better, and this map can be very snowbally, so losing 2 Veils could actually result in a massive deficit, and it looks like Rage will actually kill 2 Veils, although he lost one himself. He's going to potentially lose another one. This one surviving for the time being. So that's a will advantage for Rage, something that he really needs in this matchup, because this map is going to be very hard to play for him, even with a massive will advantage, as now we have some cav archers coming in. Cav archers will definitely be useful for picking off wills from a distance, as now we will have 2 4 docks up for our red player. I feel like the problem here is that Rage might be underinvesting into docks. He's going for a lot of land army, which can be useful if you actually use them on land, but if you go for water here, like you cross the lake, you will just get them annihilated by the galleons, and now it's a lot of Halberdiers as well. The camos will fight against the This is an awful fight for our red player here. He's fighting Halberdiers and galleons with camos. This is awful for him. And now the Paladins come in. Oh my goodness, this is perfect for Code. Code lost 4 Veils in this one, by the way, because there are some camos coming in here to pick off some Veils. So those villager kills were beautiful from Rage, but it doesn't give him any advantage because he lost the Veils in the middle. Still, as things stand, Code is not playing a perfect game here. He has already lost 6 Veils, and that's going to be a 7th one as well. But the galleon numbers are looking a lot stronger for him, 26 compared to 12. And once again, I feel like he might just be playing for full middle control. Code lost 10 Veils. He's actually very low on Veil count. This is a disturbingly low Veil count for the Code. And that's where things could get really problematic for him. He doesn't have additional TCs up, whereas his opponent is already dropping multiple TCs. The Code might not be able to afford losing 13 Veils, only to kill 8. And it seems like the gamble for Rage to invest a little bit more into the land army actually seems to pay off, because he's doing quite a bit of damage to Code's starting eco. Code, however, now picking off a couple more Veils, and once again the problem for Rage is that he's killing the initial Veils, but then he just loses his own as well. And if you take a look at this, now it's an even villager KD, although Rage has TCs up already, so he's gonna be able to expand his eco a little faster. Even just keeping his villas alive for longer helps quite a bit. But here's the problem for our red player, he just doesn't have the power right now to secure water, so as you see, we will have Code already pushing up the middle, and he just wants to secure a foothold with siege workshops and towers. Rage is actually massing a fleet of galleons inside those docks, and it's a little bit scary for Code that anything can pop out of this group of docks. If these are demos, he could lose his entire fleet, but look at this, he's dropping a tower in the face of his opponent. He's doing that because he wants to limit his opponent's expansion to the middle. Still, there is more camels coming in for Rage. Rage is doing an excellent job killing vills here, and Code is having a hard time expanding his eco, as now Kashyyyks will hit the field. But the problem here for Rage is that his base could also get overrun by Paladins, because his population is still weaker. The eco is way better for Rage, but it's double the army for Code, and once again Code could play a super aggressive game and just force his opponent off from water, and simultaneously overrun his base with some Paladins. Now it looks like Code is able to secure his base, and at the end of the day he killed more villas than his opponent did. Obviously Rage still has the advantage because, as I said, he had the villas up for longer, so he was able to build some additional town centers. So Rage still will have the economical lead, but as I said, he's gonna have no tools to control the middle. He's losing his docks, and with that, that is 3-0 for the Code. Because look at this, Code is already yoinking this relic here as well. He was already on 2. That's unbelievable. Like, Rage had so much advantage from those Vil kills, and we really can't blame Rage for playing badly here, because he played really well. Those Vil kills came in super nicely for him. The problem for him was that, meanwhile, he lost all map control. He gambled on killing Vils from the Code, but Code had just enough production to squeeze out the galleons and then control the pond in the middle. And as things stand, Rage is on 4 docks. He will never control the water here, unless he's trying to redock sneakily. Maybe... yeah, I think Rage just looked at the score and resigned. Like, theoretically, Rage still had his chances, because he can redock, try to control the middle. He's got a massive Vil lead. He can expand his eco, though he was out of gold already, which is a massive concern. And he would be probably up against at least 3 relics, Lithuanians. I'm not saying it's a premature GG, but this may have been something that you can actually try steering back. Hunisheep, thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate that. Welcome, welcome. So, this may have been a game that he could have tried playing, but I guess he just looked at the score and said, hey, I have 0 map control, I will just tap out. I don't think that he realized how much ahead he was in villager count. Had he seen that, that could have been something that makes him a little bit more motivated to try and come back in this one. But from what he has seen in the game, which is basically a big fleet destroying his docks, him out of gold, his opponent probably at 3 relics already, it is just probably too much for him, and he said, okay, that's enough of me, and we will go to game number 4. And this is, as I said, why I said that game number 2 is a must-win for Rage, because he has to win his home map, as Code is just so strong on Golden Swamp that it almost guaranteed Code will bring you to Golden Swamp and win one game here. Now it's going to be Rage's home map once again, but we're going to mirror civilization selections and a match point. So the only way Rage gets into the grand finals now is if he is able to reverse sweep his opponent, and we're going back to 4 lakes, this time with a Bulgarian mirror. So it seems like Rage felt pretty decent about the 4 lakes game at the beginning, and he's gonna come back to 4 lakes here, this time with a Bulgarian mirror, which is gonna feature quite a lot of infantry, probably some onagers, but at first we will most likely have a Cavalier and then potentially even Conics. It's Bulgarians, not Burgundians. We have seen Burgundian mirrors in the tournament, but not very recently. I think in the early rounds we had Burgundian mirrors, but this time it's Bulgarians. We'll have Rage on the right side in red, going for what is a bit of a gamble in my perspective, dropping free castles, because these free castles, it's going to take forever for him to build those, in comparison to his opponent who's going for barracks and stables. So the initial production is going to be slightly better for our blue player over here. These hussars have stirrups on them, so they actually attack pretty fast. And indeed, they pick off a will here. Rage once again having a slightly better start compared to his opponent, but oh yeah, that's a nice start. That's a very, very nice start for Rage here. Not losing a will, but he picked off a first one from his opponent. Still, as I said, if he's making multiple castles, that one villager advantage will be insufficient, because as you see, he's got 2 stables, 1 barracks, now it's 2, in comparison to having, well, basically the same production for Code, who is going for Creposts instead. Interesting idea. Both players want to go for Conics, that's obvious. But Creposts might be slightly better here for Code. It's going to give less defense to his base as he picks off that will, making it a completely even will KD. But Creposts are built slightly faster than castles are, and they also cost less stone, so you will be able to preserve some of your stone to drop a castle later on this hill, for example. So now, it is 4 villager kills by the Code. He brought in a couple more cavaliers and picked off some villas on the left side, and the Code once again takes over in villager KD. This is looking really grim for Rage, as the castle is going up. Siege workshops on the way as well, to have some siege out to deal with the halberdiers. And eventually, as I said, it's gonna be Conic, Siege, Halberdier, probably Swordsman as well. And now you have the Conics being queued up by Rage. This is his home map, so this was his original game plan, but I think Code's idea is better here. Look at that, he's gonna have 4 Creposts up by the time his opponent finishes 3 castles. And this was also a lot more stone efficient for him, so he's gonna be able to preserve some of his stone. And now here come the Conics, as Code is probably going to secure this hill here early on for himself. Cavalier looping around to try and find some will kills here by Rage, and Rage is going, or Code is actually going for a market strategy. And then you are gonna have monasteries as well to pick up relics. It looks like Rage actually wants to dock the left-hand side pond, interestingly, or maybe this is a TC for this gold mine. It's hard to say yet, or maybe even a castle. Speaking of castles, there is 2 castles being dubbed on the front by Code. Loses 1 will to the Cavalier coming in, so now Rage actually takes over in villager KD. Conic numbers, however, much better for Code here, although he's now losing quite a lot of them to the Halberdiers. He already has siege workshops out, so siege onagers will be on the menu. And indeed, that's actually a castle. It's a beautiful castle for Rage to control this corner. It's 1 relic, stone and gold. The market strategy is still open for either player, because neither of them have sold resources. And speaking of selling resources, Rage is the one doing it first, and that hurts so much for Code. Remember that Code's market was delayed? If that wasn't delayed, Code could have sold resources faster. This is probably the best game so far from Rage. He's actually having a very, very nice positional advantage. He's gonna have a castle up here as well. And he was able to use the market too, so he's got a little bit more gold to work with. Onagers will trade fairly evenly in the middle, as these Cavalier will get cleaned up. Other side, it looks like we'll have a Conic plus Cavalier counterattack coming in from Rage. No relics in just yet for our blue player, although he will soon spot the castle thanks to the fact that he's gonna have a monk going that way. And it looks like Code's castle on this hill will be halted by the Halberdiers. In the middle, we have some big onager shots. In fact, a huge amount of onager shots coming in. And that results in quite a lot of casualties from Rage. KD is actually heavily in the favor of the Code, who is now expanding his base to the right side, as the left side is pretty much impossible for him to expand. This castle is going to be very important because it can trickle some Conics into the base of Code. Eco numbers are very close, and it looks like Code knows that he's going to have to dispatch a huge amount of Conics to deal with that castle. Potentially a couple of Trebs as well, indeed. Here come the Trebs. As things stand, the Conic numbers are actually slightly better for Rage, as this castle might not stay up for long. These Conics actually deal quite a lot of damage, especially when there is 1 or 2 Trebs supporting. So our red player is going to bring in some Conics himself. to deal with this aggression for the time being. Some cavalry running into the base of Code here, and Code keeps losing vills while he's unable to kill any. So, look at this, Rage 16 vill kills, Code at 4. Rage is not going down easily, and this is by far the best game for him. I have to say this is a must-win now, because he's got every bit of advantage that he can have. The map control is better, I think, for him. He's got a massive vill advantage now, we're talking about 12, and this could be 13 in a moment. He has caught the start a lot better than his opponent did. This is a little bit of a sloppy game, I would say, for the Code. Too many vills lost at the beginning, which was sort of a thing for the Code in many games. It's just a matter of... in most games, he was able to compensate for that by killing vills. Not this game. In this game, he was just unable to retaliate for any of his villager losses. Now he's going to get a trap out to take that castle down. You can even make it 3 traps. And the Cavalier will be able to force the Conic back, so this castle is going down really fast here. And this could allow Code to get his castle up on this hill. In exchange though, while his attention was drawn away from the middle, he's going to lose his castle. He still has enough stone to rebuild it, so it's not the end of the world, but losing that map position hurts. And now we're going to see the famous and well-renowned Bulgarian fire ships fighting on the left-hand side pond, and the right-hand side pond is going to be unclaimed, so is the northern one. The southern one will belong to the Code. Trebs are now trying to take some shots on the Onagers in an effort to try and pick them off from distance. Onagers firing down hills, as I see a couple of swordsmen being added by our red player. So he actually wants to add some swordsmen because they're actually very good against both. Well, they are obviously amazing against halberdiers, but they actually perform pretty decently against cavalier as well, I would assume, because they have a huge amount of melee armor. But that siege onager is firing down hills, and this may have been a bit of an overextension here from Rage, because he's fighting up hills, onagers are firing down hills, and Rage's army is just disappearing here. This is a very good fight here for the Code, and an awful one for Rage. Something that could lose him the game, not gonna lie. It looks like the left-hand side pond is gonna be cleaned up by Rage, and he also gets the dock up on the right, or the southern pond, so he will have pond control. That's very nice, but I feel like he's just losing significant map control in the middle, especially with Code already going for relic number 3 here in this one. Right side is something that he's gonna have to clean up. He lost a couple of vills, but Code is back on track with villager count, and I feel like Code is slowly making a comeback here. It would be a heartbreaker, I have to say, for Rage to lose this game. Because in the playoffs so far, Rage has lost 5-0 to Viper in a very, very easy set. And right now is down 3 games. It very much seems like Code is going to do everything he can to lose this game, though. Because it's a 51 villagers killed by our red player, only 6 from the Code. This is definitely the worst game so far from Code. He's still playing well, but there is a considerable amount of sloppiness in losing that many vills. Nice move as well from our red player to try and snipe down that cavalier that was trying to take down the trap. Still 2 traps are out, and this castle is likely going down for the Code. Although, we have to add, there's a second castle here for the Code. Slowly but surely Rage is establishing more map control, and the score seems to be very, very close. So are the populations. Code, once again, not paying attention to the traps, and the Conics will just dive in to finish those off. That's a very, very nice move. And now we have some cannon galleons. Cannon galleons taking on this castle, and they're actually a reasonable unit here, because it's actually hard to get rid of those cannon galleons over there. You need to make a trap, and then you have to shoot it. Shoot the cannon galleon with it. And the cannon galleon is easier to micro than the trap is, so Rage could actually make life very miserable for Code over there with that cannon galleon being added. So now we're gonna have a Conic counterattack though, and this is where Rage has to be careful, because so far he was the one killing the vills of his opponent, but Conics with stirrups actually kill vills really fast. So as things stand, we have 3 TCs, 2 castles, and Conics fighting over here, so I'm not sure how much these blue Conics will be able to accomplish. They killed a couple of vills, kind of idled some eco from our red player, but I don't think that they accomplished that much, and now that they are dismounted Conics, they will just die to the arrow fire. as the Onager will finish off the Cannon Galleon, nicely done here by our blue player, Code, as on the middle, we're gonna have a big counterattack. The trap gets sniped down by the Onagers, and it looks like Rage wasn't paying attention because he's going to lose a huge amount of forces in the middle. Most of these Conics have died here, so they're now just dismounted Conics that will get destroyed by the Onagers, as it looks like Code wants to establish presence on the left-hand side of the map. Big Onager hit, killing quite a lot of Vills here from Rage. And now Code has the population lead. The army is much greater for Code. Rage is at 36 army only, although Code is actually onagering down his own units, so that's going to even out the army numbers a tiny bit. As things stand, we have a couple of Cav Archers from our blue player, and Bulgarian Cav Archers are very underrated as a unit in the in fact in random map as well. Bulgarians is one of those civilizations that have awful archer line, except Cav Archers. So their Cav Archers are surprisingly good, as Code will exchange 2 Siege Onagers to a trap to keep that castle alive a little longer. So Cav Archers could be a pretty decent raiding unit overall, although the fact that there is multiple castles here on the right side will make that a hard thing to do for Code. One castle will be denied here on the right side from Rage, as his second castle will be under fire, which is protecting a crucial gold mine over here. The other crucial gold mine is also sort of under attack from Code, although as things stand, Rage has the numbers advantage here, so Code is the player that's on the defensive. Rage selling quite a lot of wood for gold, so it feels like he needs a bit more momentum, because he needs to protect this gold mine on the right side and also eliminate his opponent from this hill. And as things stand, that Onager hit could actually end the traps. Nice move over there from the Code, that's beautifully done. He had to sacrifice quite a lot of units, but the fact that he keeps that castle alive is extremely important, because this castle is just going to be an excellent staging ground to assault this gold mine. And when you combine it with the fact that the other gold mine here on the far right may be lost soon for Rage, suddenly his gold income could be somewhat concerning. The Conics trying to dive in and deal with the Onagers, and after that probably the traps as well. Castle Fire and the Conics from our blue player will help quite a bit, as the TC and probably Crepost will melt. Left side, once again, we'll have another push assembled by a Rage here. The Code getting an Onager out, and I think the Code will once again try to loop around with a couple of Conics to hit the red player's traps here. Nice move from Rage to try and snipe the Onager, and also beautiful move to snipe the traps on the right side, and this feels like a castle that's not going up. Code is definitely having some troubles in this game. He's only 8 on gold. He is only 30 military. I have to say that this is the first game where Code actually gets punished for losing so many villas early on. Because in game number 1 and game number 3, he wasn't punished at all for that, because he also managed to kill quite a lot of villas. This time, Code just lost so many villas and has taken so many inefficient fights that this may be enough for Rage to secure this game. Because, as things stand, I am actually liking the position of Rage a lot more. Now, we have to add that Code is a big survivor and he's sitting on 4 relics. So, that is something to keep monitoring. Although, as things stand, I feel like, in terms of neutral golds, it should be fairly even. There is neutral gold here that Code is taking, there is one over here. There is one that was under the control of Rage, and this one is also under the control of Rage. So I think the gold income will be fairly even, but the 4 relics will matter quite a bit here for the Code, as he will snipe one of the traps, but he's not focusing the other one up until now, and ends up killing that as well. Left side, we have the castle from our blue player lost, but as Rage was diverting his attention to the middle, taking down these Creposts, Code is able to counterattack and force the villagers off from that gold mine. The right side, a beautifully done conic push from Rage. He's going to be able to take down the traps. Siege Ram now on the way to take down the Crepost. Still, I feel like at this point, Rage is accomplishing much more with his push than his opponent is. That's what I'm actually feeling here. So, Rage is slowly grinding down the building numbers of his opponent. In fact, Code doesn't have any defensive buildings here in the middle now, whereas Rage still has multiple defensive castles protecting his eco. even if he loses this crepost, it's not the end of the world for him. The problem for Rage could be that he is out of mineable gold. He's barely able to access this one, and he's really sort of unable to access the left side in most cases. He sometimes can get a couple of wheels out there, but Code knows that exactly, and Code will try to raid that as much as possible. Rage selling some food until the market is bottomed out. And now we're gonna have the Bulgarian keeps being dropped here in the middle of the map. Code will probably just try to play this in a very, very long game, because 4 relics will still give him a massive advantage once the map runs out of gold. And keep in mind that Code is pop-capped, whereas his opponent isn't, so Code's army is a lot bigger, although most of that is Halberdiers, so the quality of that army is not so great. You see that army numbers are almost twice as big for a blue player, but the army value is actually fairly comparable. So let's see the right side. Now we're seeing more and more Hussar being mixed in as the gold is running low on the map. Rage will try his best to take the remaining gold from this gold mine, and he should be able to. Nice move from Rage to snipe down that siege ram, and he's going to be able to finish off the Halberdiers as well. So the army numbers are getting evened out here. So, we will have Trebs out for Rage to take down this siege workshop. It's worth noting that Code actually started to try mining this gold. He knows exactly that the gold mine is going to be extremely important, and more importantly, he actually got a castle up here. What I love about Code's play here, though, is the swordsman. When there is only Hussar on the field, Hussar have 11 attack. That is only doing 3 damage per hit against the two-handed swordsman here. So, since there is basically a very limited amount of rage units on the field, the swordsman line can actually be very helpful at dealing with the halberdiers and even the hussar in close combat. So, I like that decision quite a bit from Code, and Code still has 20 wheels on gold. So, you see that right in the moment he secures a bit of a map control, he sends a bunch of wheels to take that gold mine. That's also sort of a Code-esque play. In the moment he's able to secure the gold, he's going to rush up for it. And now we're talking about Code actually mining gold. His opponent isn't mining gold or at all now. And most importantly, it's 4 relics versus 1. So this is the moment where the battle could start swinging in the favor of Code, because his opponent will be limited to Hussar and Halberdiers here, basically. So I could even see Code trying to go for Cav Archers. He's piling up gold, but Cav Archers could be a very, very good unit here in the long run, because it would have an insane resource retention rate, as now the siege rams will be pushing in. If you can take down that monastery, that's already a massive advantage. Because if you take it down, you will force your opponent to make a new monk to pick up that relic, and that monk is expensive now that your opponent has 0 gold, so taking down a monastery like that can actually be a very, very nice thing to do. The alternative for Code is that he can try to play for wood control as well and try to chop down the opponent's trees with some siege onagers. That is also a possibility, but now Code takes over in score and he's got a 3000 score lead. And it's looking grim for Rage, I'm not gonna lie. It's looking really, really grim. He's trying to get some raids in, and he still killed way more villas than his opponent. The problem is that now he cannot stop this straight up push. And as I said, the fact that Code is picking up relics so early in DM makes him a very, very dangerous player, because that allows him to just outlast his opponent in the majority of these long games, plus he's also establishing map presence so nicely. So you see that he was the one who took the majority of this gold mine at the end, and this is why he's still floating 1000 gold, and he's got 37 swordsmen queued up. In comparison, his opponent has 33 queued up, but that is because he is just selling massive amounts of food to get any kind of gold income. Still, the good news for Rage is that his base is very well defendable. He has still a huge amount of castles to play with. The problem for him is that he's just gonna have no gold income whatsoever, and I think that the quality of the units will be sufficient for Code to secure majority map control, and once you have majority map control, suddenly it starts becoming a question of how much wood you control, especially when one player has 4 relics compared to the other that has none. Well, it has 1 relic for Rage right now, but it's actually fairly exposed. And now it's only Halberdiers. And Swordsman, the Swordsman will actually take down one of the traps, but this castle is most likely going down. And then you will probably have this castle being under fire as well. In exchange, on the right side, we'll have traps coming in here for Rage. This is a fight that... oh boy, that's a lot of Siege Onagers. That's a lot of Siege Onagers, and I think that Red Army is just going to melt. Yeah, that is probably the end for Rage here. He's gonna get annihilated, and he has 25 Swordsmen in queue, but that's basically everything he has. And with that, Rage gives up. TheCode is going to be the other finalist of Deathmatch World Cup 4. What a convincing set from him. I have to say that Code didn't play perfect, especially this final game was somewhat underwhelming compared to what we usually see from him. However, it is still a very good performance from him. His comeback ability was crazy, the way that he establishes map control. And Golden Swamp. Let's talk about Golden Swamp, because Golden Swamp was a map that he dominated twice. So it's going to be very interesting to monitor how, in the Grand Finals against Viper, the Golden Swamp game is going to play out, because Viper and Code are both very, very good on that map. So now, Code is going to have to take a short break, because I think there will be a show match that's, intended to make sure that the player that's playing the losers bracket finals and gets into the Grand Finals has some time to rest. And then they will play the Grand Finals later today.